Hi everybody, happy Monday. We're Chris and Steve with EatWalkLearn. We're really glad you're here. This week we are cruising, so we're just dropping a video in to let you know about one of the places we went to. That's one of our favorite places and why we love it so much. We're going to talk about Liverpool, England, United Kingdom. How many times have you been to Liverpool?
I've only been to Liverpool twice, but we were here about a year ago, and we were here for a whole week. So really got to explore a lot of the city and a lot of the surrounding city. And this time, we were only here for one day, and we got to enjoy Liverpool with some of our friends who were on the cruise with us.
And we were so excited that Tim and Amy from Go With Less are longtime friends from Denver. A lot of you might know them from their Go With Less channel, but they were with us as well. And they're going to drop in and say hello.
Man, we had a great time cruising with Chris and Steve.
Thanks for having us tag along. We love you.
Wasn't that great for Tim and Amy to drop in? They're so wonderful. We were so glad to experience this with them. But we had a great time in Liverpool, and we're going to list about 10 things that we really like. My number one thing is Crosby Beach. Crosby Beach is a beach just north of Liverpool. You can take the public transit to get there. The reason why I like it so much is there is an art installation there that's absolutely fabulous. It's very zen. One of my favorite art installations ever. I'll leave the name of the artist and the installation right down here. But it's about 100 bronze sculptures buried in the sand that flow with the tide. So I'll let you take a look at the pictures and make your own evaluation of whether that's something you would do. I absolutely loved it. Totally zen. Make sure you go to Crosby Beach. Number two.
Well, one of my favorite things to do in Liverpool is to go to the library. And I know there's a lot of library fans. This one is particularly interesting because the old section was not destroyed by the bombing in World War II. It's a fascinating library in the round with some fantastic rooms off to the side. And one of the unique books in the library is
the fourth volume of the Audubon 4-volume series. And you can go look at the original Audubon's illustrations of all the birds. So, and if you're lucky, you can even get a library card for the library. So make sure the way they invite you into the library is fantastic as well. We won't spoil the secret, but go to the library, the Central Library of Liverpool. The next thing we really love is the museums. Most of the museums are free or they ask you for a £5 donation, totally volunteer. The two museums I love the most, one is the Maritime Museum, which not only does it give you the history of the port, Liverpool port, but there is fantastic connection with the Titanic Museum. A lot of people don't know Liverpool has Titanic history and is there exhibited in the Maritime Museum. Also is the International Slave Museum in the same building. I absolutely loved it. It was one of the first museums where my view of the world absolutely changed after going to this museum. Of course, as Americans, we have an American view of what slavery was. You go to this museum, you get the global perspective, and it is unbelievably perspective changing, and you must not miss the Slave Museum. It is free. What were yours?
Yeah, so I mean, just to reiterate, Liverpool's got an amazing connection, historical connection with the slave trade and also with maritime, including the Titanic and other amazing vessels. The one of my favorites is the Tate Museum, which there's the large Tate Museum in London. This is a much smaller version of it, but it's a modern museum and it's got some amazing works in it. My favorites are from Matisse and Picasso. There's a Liechtenstein that I really enjoyed seeing there. So it's really a nice collection. If you enjoy modern art, you need to do the Tate Museum in Liverpool. And another one is the Liverpool Museum. It's the Liverpool Museum. It's got a great history of the city and talking about its influence on culture. We all know that there's one significant rock and roll group that has really impacted the culture and music scene around the world. But Liverpool really has a number of great people and great significant events that shape culture around the world.
And what I really liked the museum was Liverpool has been the set for many, many movies and television shows, and there's a whole section in the museum about that. So if you're a film production person, go take a look at that. After the museums, one of the most fun things we did was take the ferry. So the ferry across the Mersey. You take the razzle-dazzle boats and you go across the Mersey River. A little tip, if you have the local transit pass, you can go take the ferry for the transit pass price. If you don't have it, you have to pay the tourist price, which is like €10, and it's the exact same trip. So make sure you go do that. Very fun to hear the history of the razzle-dazzle boats. Next up was so Liverpool is full of a ton of really interesting things to do besides just your typical touristy things, and one of them was an archaeological tour of the Quarry.
Yeah, so many years ago, they used the quarry to dig most of the stone for the historical buildings around Liverpool. And then at some point in time, the quarry just kind of exhausted its use, and so they covered it up. And they built buildings and houses and roads on top of it. And then many years later, they said, after they've been using it as kind of like a trash dump of throwing kind of garbage and things into the big hole in the ground for years and years, they said, hey, what's in here? And so an effort started an archaeological dig, if you will, to pull all the garbage out. And they found some amazing relics and amazing things that were really just disposed of inside this big hole in the ground. And you can take a tour of it. You can go underground, put your hard hat on, and see the inside the quarry and the way the rocks were cut, and it's really
fascinating,
a fun thing to do, and it's great to support the organization that's trying to bring this back to life.
And we will put a link in the description about how to do the archaeological tour, along with all the other links for everything we're talking about here. But speaking of Quarry, you can't talk about the Quarry men. Who were the Quarry men?
The Beatles.
Yay,
Beatles. Day's night. Okay, listen.
What's your favorite Beatles song?
My favorite is "Here Comes the Sun." So I've got a deep touch in my heart for George Harrison and all of his music, and we got to do all the great Beatles things. What are some other Beatles things that we did?
Well, we went to the Cavern Club, where you get to go sing the soundtrack of our lives with all your favorite friends from all around the world. You sit there in the Cavern Club with everybody from every country you can think of, singing all the songs that you know, which is absolutely one of the most fun times you've ever had. And the Cavern Club's, of course, where the Beatles, we're not going to argue this, got their start or got discovered. And then you can go to George Harrison's house.
Yeah, you can go to their
Paul McCartney's house.
Their childhood homes. Strawberry Fields.
Strawberry Fields. You can go to Abbey Lane, and I got my hair cut by the same barber who cut Paul McCartney's hair when James Cordone karaoke. Yeah, on Penny Lane. When James Cordone karaoke came through with Paul McCartney. Went and got my hair cut for 12 pounds, and just a hokey time, but a lot of fun. You can spend many days doing Beatles stuff in Liverpool, but they're not the only thing to do in Liverpool. Okay, next up, the food of Liverpool.
Food.
So most of you know that I eat a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet, and we found lots of vegan food in Liverpool. Did not have any problems finding vegan food on almost every single menu. One of the traditional dishes in Liverpool is called scouse. People from Liverpool are called scousers. Scouser is a stew that originally it was just a very cheap stew with cheap meats and cheap vegetables, kind of a beef vegetable stew. And it since has become bougieized, and you can get like really fancy versions of it. But also when scouse was invented, blind scouse also was invented at the same time, and that was the meatless version, and it was called blind scouse. So that's the vegan version. So you can find scouse, S-C-O-U-S-E, all over Liverpool, and blind scouse, and we had several iterations of it and found it very delicious. And usually it came along with a nice big chunk of bread, so that was really fun. Anyway, lots of places to eat good vegan food in Liverpool. Oh, and we have a blog post on EatWalkLearn about how to eat vegan food in Liverpool, and we'll put that link down below. The people.
One of the things that I love about Liverpool are the people. They're warm, they're friendly, they're always willing to help out. It's great to just strike up a conversation with people on the street. It's a young, vibrant crowd. It's kind of a college town feel. It feels fun. It's fun walking around in the streets. Lots of activity, lots of things to do, and it's just a fun place to be.
So if you're thinking about going to Liverpool, tell us, first of all, what is your favorite Beatles song? Or what's your best Beatles memory? Or is there a particular concert that you went to? Did you see the Beatles live in concert? Let us know. Give us your Beatles memory. And if you're wondering about how we fit cruising into our nomad life, watch this video here. We never know where they're going to show up, about how we fit cruising into our life. And next week, we will be in London, I think. Or maybe we'll be in Croatia by then. Who knows? We'll drop a video next Monday. See you guys, and have a great week.
Peace.